Hello, everyone. My name is Lucian. Most of you know me from Twitter as Triangle Investor. Today, I'm joined by Mr. Sherman Dahl. He is the CEO of SKRR Exploration. Sherman, welcome to my show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Thanks. I want to start with the introduction of you as a CEO and your background. Can you tell us more about it?
Sure. Yeah, I've been in the investment business for well over 25 years. I was originally a stockbroker with Midland Walwyn, ultimately Merrill Lynch and National Bank. So extensive experience dealing with retail investors, high net worth investors. Really been involved in the capital markets for most of my career. So that's really my background is in the capital market, raising money, working with high net worth individuals and certain institutions. And that's the basics of my background.
Okay. Your company has a very respectful portfolio of gold, nickel, zinc, and from recently uranium exploration projects in Saskatchewan and one in British Columbia. I would like if we could cover them all one by one with more details about their current status, overview, and plans for the future. I want to start with uranium. You closed the deal, an option agreement with F3 Uranium to acquire up to 70% interest in Clearwater West property, right?
Correct.
Can you give us more details about this deal, please?
Yeah, I sure can. I mean, it's a very straightforward joint venture agreement. We've been involved with the management team of F3 for many years, and was originally started as Strathmore Uranium quite a few years ago. And there's been various spinouts because of the exploration success that the F3 team has had. Primarily led by Dev Randhawa, who's really well known in the capital market space. And again, similar to my background, Dev came from the financial services side, and then very quickly realized early in his career that he was good at raising money, he was good at promoting, and so he went out and structured Strathmore, which has been enormously successful over all the years, being bought out, one of the properties by Denison. The other property was $80 million was put in by the Chinese, which is now, of course, FCU or Fission Uranium. And then more recently had the spin out of F3, which I think it's really their third major discovery in the uranium business. Thanks to the hard work of guys like Ray Ashley and Sam on the geological team. This was all included Ross McElroy over the years, who also was one of the former board members for SKRR. So all those connections and exploration teams really decided to get together to do this joint venture agreement. So we've executed this agreement. SKRR has executed an agreement with F3 that we're going to spend a certain amount of dollars, approximately about $3 million over a couple of years, of exploring this Clearwater West property, which is right in the heart of the PLS, PLN uranium camps. And anybody that's been following the uranium stories knows that, on the west side of the basin, of the Athabasca Basin, is becoming very exciting with, NextGen's discovery, FCU Fission's discovery, and then more recently, the stunning results that have come out of F3. So we've been sort of watching in the background and decided that we would do a joint venture agreement with Fission 3 to explore this Clearwater West property. And the operator, which of course would be the exploration discovery team from F3, is one that's going to be running our drill program for the winter at SKRR. So that's really the focus of the company over the last number of months, is to do a couple things. One is monetize some of the assets that we already have in our existing portfolio, which you alluded to, our gold properties and our nickel properties, and then focus on this option agreement with F3 to tap into the enormous uranium exploration potential of Saskatchewan.
So this will become your flagship project.
It certainly will. I mean, we would have maybe a year or so ago, when we were actively drilling the Olsen Gold property, which is in the very robust Trans-Hudson corridor in Saskatchewan. It is really our flagship gold deposit. We spent around $3 million exploring that property with great success. And so the Olsen property, we control that property now. We've earned in, and it's one of our flagship gold assets. But there just has not been real interest in earlier stage gold exploration in Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
So, we did do a transaction recently, which I'm sure we'll talk about, where we sold one of our zinc assets to Fathom Nickel, which has worked out very well, for us and for Fathom. And with that just highlights some of the underlying value, that hidden value in our portfolio, is executing that agreement on Fathom, with Fathom, on the Watts Lake zinc property. So we sort of see all of our portfolio properties, like our gold properties, all very viable, all very tremendous amounts of upside. We just have to figure out how we're going to monetize those. And in the interim, yes, we're focusing on our joint venture agreement with F3 in the uranium sector.
Yeah, got it. When you look at the map, this property is really strategically positioned between Orano's Preston property. On the west, it is NextGen, and we have Fission PLS on the north. So it's an unbelievable neighborhood out there.
It really is. And, you got to hand it to the team, which was really ultimately led by Dev, but
yeah,
certainly the work of, Ross McElroy and Ray Ashley. These guys have been pointing to the west side of the basin for a number of years. And there was for quite a while, a lot of the industry experts were saying, no, everything's on the east. Yeah. And that's just not accurate. I mean, you've got other significant deposits that have already been mined out on the west. So I think it was really smart, as Dev says, go west, young man. And now we're starting to see, which is common with these uranium deposits, they come in clusters. Mm-hmm. And so your point is very well taken, that we're very much in the right address. I mean, there's a highway runs right through our property, but more importantly, it's not us picking a property. It's F3. I mean, this is coming out of F3's portfolio.
Yeah. And
all these properties were selected, strategically.
Yeah.
And it's the kind of area that, you look at that PLN with F3. I mean, that's been explored a number of times, and then presto, they found the they found the deposit. So yeah. It takes time, but you definitely want to be in the right ballpark.
Yeah, definitely. You have to spend, if I remember the press release correctly, you have to spend $3 million in 2 years, right?
Correct.
Okay. Let's discuss your other project, Katra Project.
Yeah, Katra, again, is another very prospective gold project. Earlier stage, so it's not one that we're really focusing on.
Okay.
We've got a collection of very good properties that are similar to Katra, Manson Bay, the Thingo, some of these, there's so much gold mineralization in Saskatchewan,
yeah,
that runs really from the home stake deposits down in the Dakotas all the way up to the well-known CB deposits, and then it moves over into the Snow Lake area in Saskatchewan. So, there's so much prospective land, and the portfolio, the projects that we have, the ones that you mentioned, like Katra, these have all been, carefully selected and staked over a number of years, and a lot of them have historic workings on them. So, all of our properties are, really properties of merit. In other words, they're not just grassroots. They've either had, work on them in the past. I mean, Saskatchewan's got a long history of gold exploration, but what they all really lack is a real significant drill program. And the only property that we really went in and did a significant drill program on was, two properties. One was the Olsen property, and the second one was Manson Bay, because they were so high priority. And we had success at both those properties, but the other properties in the portfolio, for example, like Katra, the one that you're asking about, that's one that's still, we've done a few airborne studies and we're kind of sniffing around, but you really have to put the drills on the ground. That's what the name of the game is. And we did that with Olsen, and we had very good success. But then we saw a real lack of interest in sort of the junior gold sector. So we kind of, we pulled back, to protect the treasury, and there just really wasn't an appetite to finance, future gold exploration in Saskatchewan. I think that's going to change. I mean, I really do. I think that the larger players like SSR, we've already heard rumors that, that they, they're kind of commissioning studies to look at where else would they explore outside of their own properties in Trans Hudson. Certainly there's other players like Alamos, and, there's major gold players that know that Saskatchewan is very rich in gold. And they know it's one of the top provinces, one of the top places on the planet to explore, very mining friendly. So we just sort of biding our time on that front, because the people that have the large land holdings like we do, that's the kind of companies that we expect someone will come knocking on our door and want to joint venture with us. So when the sun shines a little bit more on gold exploration, that's what we believe will be, we'll be sitting there with some great properties. And Katra is one of those kind of properties.
Okay, you touched on Manson Bay project. What did you achieve there? What kind of works has been done on the project so far?
We did a small drilling project. Well, I mean, initially we went in and did a lot of soil sampling and land work with Terralogic, which is a very well-known group in Saskatchewan that's did exploration there for us. We then did a drill program, approximately 10 holes, I believe was the total number of holes. Had good success, but never, we never hit that magic hole. It was really confirming some of the mineralization that was already there. Manson Bay actually has a small resource on it, but it's non-43-101, so we can't really, talk too much to how many ounces.
It's a historical resource.
Yeah, it's a historical resource that's not currently 43-101. Okay. In other words, we know there's a small gold deposit there. It's a very interesting property because it's a VMS style property but it's gold enriched.
Yeah.
And if you look at the massive Flin Flon ore body, which of course is what made Hud Bay Minerals, which is in that kilometers away from Manson Bay, that's a copper enriched VMS. But a lot of people don't realize that the Flin Flon ore body spun out about 6 million ounces of gold, even though it was a copper deposit. So we're very interested in Manson Bay because it's a gold enriched VMS with copper credits and so on. So it's a very exciting area. So what we did, to answer your question, is we went in and we drilled a bunch of holes in that area. We confirmed mineralization where we knew there was a historic result. Then we kind of stepped out looking for which way is this deposit, moving. And we really didn't, we didn't have any magnificent holes come out of that. So, and that's the nature of junior exploration. You don't get an unlimited budget to go drill these things. So, you take your chances, obviously.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
I mean, the geologists are looking at these things and applying their brain to where do they drill next. But sometimes it is like finding a needle in a haystack, and uranium is an example of that.
Definitely.
Where you're some people say you're looking for a school bus like 600 feet below ground type of thing. So that's what makes the exploration business exciting, and that's where I think you have to properly vet your properties. And so everything that's gone into SKR, no matter which one you ask about, has been handpicked by somebody at the geological level, not me, because I'm not a geologist.
I understand. Yeah. You have the team for that.
So historically, that's why we tied ourselves to Ross McElroy, who assisted over many years who was on the board and helped stake some of the properties, and the crew at Terralogic. So Tim Tremundi, from Eagle Plains, has also been someone that's helped us. Brian Skanderbeg from GFG Resources, and we've got people that
familiar
came
names
with us, like Mike Halverson, and so we did a lot of quite a bit of thinking about these sorts of things, but have we found the smoking hole yet? No. And so we continue to develop these things methodically, depending on capital markets, because capital markets don't always cooperate.
Yes, but you are improving your chances to hit good deposit, especially with this recent acquisition.
Correct.
Can you expand a little bit on your BC property?
Yeah, BC property was really, going after some nickel properties.
Yeah.
And then, that's the extent of it. I mean, it was the Nickel Peak group. It was a group out of Vancouver that brought the properties to us. We looked at them again, and they really fit in with our theme of looking for properties that had, some historic work done, some good neighbors, people that were exploring in the area. FPX Nickel, for example, was exploring the area. This is very similar to our nickel property in Saskatchewan. Father Lake is also a nickel property. Again, we went after Father Lake because Rio Tinto was working in the area. And so these were some historic claims, very much like they were in BC. And so really at the time, I was really thinking, nickel, again, is another asset that we like because of the battery metal side of what's happening in the world. You change electrification, you change transportation, you change everything. So this electrification is very interesting for assets like nickel. So that was the whole point of doing the transaction in BC, was to enhance our exposure to the nickel world. And again, we've seemed to have run up against a lack of interest in capital markets to really explore for much these days. And so, the nickel kind of vends in well with the uranium and the gold and the other assets that we have in the portfolio.
Is the company open to acquiring more uranium assets, or the story ends with this fission transaction?
Oh no, I think the story is just beginning.
That's what I want to hear.
Yeah, no, it's a really exciting move for us, and it's something that even Dev and I recently did an interview, and Dev talked about how they would like to expand the relationship with us.
Great.
In particular, we'd really like to get our hands on, Murphy Lake is an amazing asset that F3 has. It's going to require more money.
Yes.
That's why we started with Clearwater. It was closer to the action, if you will. Clearwater is very close to where they're already drilling with their recent discovery at PLN. So it makes a lot of sense to work on the west side of the basin. So I think it was a transaction that we wanted to explore the west side, but they have other assets on the east side, Murphy Lake and Cree Bay, very interesting assets that. So we're very keen to do more with, in particular with F3.
That's great to hear, because they're a team of success. I don't know if you heard the news yesterday. Some tremendous numbers are out again from PLN.
Yeah, well,
definitely.
I definitely heard the news.
Yeah. Sherman, can you tell me more about your team? Who are the people behind your company?
Well, we've done things, not uncommon in the junior resource sector. We're a really small team, if you want to call the management team. Really on the capital market side is myself, who's been in this business for a number of years. Everybody else is really on a strategic level, on an advisory level, which is very common in the junior sector. So, if you look at on our website, our advisory board is very strong. Again, we've got Brian Skanderbeg, who's very well known in the gold sector, throughout Canada, and also Mike Halverson, who's very strong on the capital markets side. But if we're really going to get into on the geological, which is probably the most important part of, or the next most important part of the business, is we work really closely with Terralogics over the years. You know, Tim Tremundi and Jesse Campbell over at Terralogics, very, very strong. And then obviously more recently, who's our geological team? F3. I mean, it's that simple. It would make no sense for us to go have a head of exploration because we're joint venturing with Fission. So until we get, further down the line, we've really kept, the team pretty tight at SKRR.
That is good for G&A. It's not a big team, and the shareholders love that. Not too much spending.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Can you tell me, please, more about the share structure? How many, if you know the data, how many shares is outstanding? How many options, warrants? Do you know that numbers? Maybe?
Yeah, I don't know exactly the options and warrants, but certainly there's about 70 million shares currently outstanding. You may have seen on the most recent news, we are rolling the company back. So we're going to have about 15 million shares outstanding after the rollback. I think it's really important to have a tight share structure, especially, I think for any company, but overall about 70 million shares that are outstanding right now. So we've got a ridiculously low market cap, given that we've got about $1 million worth of cash in the bank. We're also in the process of raising more money over the next couple of months for the next drill program. So certainly not a huge share structure, but one of the reasons we've decided to roll it back is just to tighten it up. We'd rather have a higher share price than a lower share price. But as most people know, in the capital markets, really a rollback doesn't mean much because it doesn't change the size of the pie. No matter which way you look at the share structure, I think it's really important for investors to focus on market cap. In other words, what's the total market capitalization of the company? And at this extremely low market cap for SKRR, these are the kind of entry points that investors want to look at because you have so much potential upside and relatively low downside because you're not paying for any success up front. So if we've got like a $2 million market cap and we have a discovery with F3, this stock could be worth multiples of where it is today. So I really try and pay attention to the overall market cap. So if you take someone that's already had a discovery, F3, for example, they've got a much higher market cap. So what the investors could look forward to is that, at this low market cap, if we have a discovery similar to what F3 did, the upside is significant because you're not paying for any success in advance. So I think for investors, it's really important to obviously look at share structure, but most importantly is the overall market capitalization is really the price that you're paying when you buy those shares. It doesn't really matter what it is on a per share basis. You could have 100 million shares outstanding, but if it's trading for $1, you're paying 100 million bucks for that company.
Exactly.
The same time, if you've got 100 million shares at 5 cents, you're paying 5 million for that company. So in the exploration business, you want to pay the least amount so that you have, it lowers your overall risk.
Yeah, and it's unbelievable what you just said. $2 million market cap and $1 million cash balance, right?
Correct.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. But that's not, I mean, I think we're fortunate to have a stronger than average treasury. I mean, if you peel down some of the junior companies, I'm obviously not picking on anybody, but I looked at one this morning that, the promoter had sent me some information on, and, we're active in the markets as well. And, I look at the market cap and then I look at this, then I look at that, and I looked at the cash in the bank and it was like 40 grand. I'm like, well, what are you going to do with 40 grand? And it really, in the investment business, in the exploration business, what are you going to do with $1 million bucks? So you really have to, we think that we know that we can survive this, we've got good support, but it's not easy. right now in the junior markets. So if you are going to buy something, make sure it's cheap. Make sure you've got a chance to win, and that's what we've been trying to do, is position ourselves with a chance to win. With the right share structure, have some money in the bank, have a really good partner. F3, we trust these guys, we know these guys, and they've got a history of success. And really those are the main things you want to look at when you're investing in the junior market.
Yeah, Sherman. One question about the skin in the game. How many shares do you hold personally, and the other members of your team, if you know?
Yeah, I'd have to go look at which of course is publicly available.
Yes.
To make sure I had the exact number. But insiders overall, control just under 10% of the company. So, personally, I've got about 3 million shares if we look at all the shares that I've bought, plus some options. And I would be sort of the largest shareholder on the insider level.
Okay.
Obviously there's some other large shareholders out there. I mean, it's no secret that, Ross McElroy was on our board right from the beginning. He's left the board, and of course I still have good contact with Ross, but, Ross, according to the previous filings, would have had a share position slightly larger than mine. So that's where you can get a sense of where, that 7 million shares are roughly, was really the management founding team of SKRR. And then really it would be institutions and other individuals that own the bigger chunks of the stock.
Yeah. Your background will help company with financing. That is one thing is definitely covered. I mean, your financing background. So
yeah, that's very true. I mean, it's nice to have not only my strength, but also other strength of people on the board. But I can tell you, right, as we were talking earlier, there's a lot of people that have their hands in their pockets right now in the junior resource sector. But times will change.
Definitely. Sherman, how can investors reach out to you?
Well, probably the best is just through our website. We've got if you go to the website, there's an email. They can, very quickly email us. So I think it's at info@skrr.ca. I'm readily available. Just shoot us an email and we can set up a Zoom call or an appointment. No problem at all. We're always interested to take calls.
Great. Sherman, I want to thank you for being my guest in my show, and I really wish you luck with not just uranium project, with all the projects you have, as well as in your personal life. Good luck.
Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day.
You too.
Enjoy Europe.
Thanks.